traveling to the sea.
Hello and welcome to the stream. We are with Overwatch 2 finally. And we are our University of Montana Maroon against CMU Gold.
It goes to here? That's too loud.
Ready for battle. Five, 4, 3, 2, 1. Round 1. Capture the objective.
All right, we are on our first control point map. Having a little trouble. All right, we are here with our first stream for Overwatch 2. Our teams are excited. The first match of the season. And looks like Cheese Crisp goes down. Lucio goes down. Both supports went down. We only have our side to spectate, so we'll try to be swapping in between all of our players here. It looks like our spectator is a little different from Overwatch 1, so we're going to try to get used to the controls here. Montana feeling the pressure, trying to get through the door. CMU does have control of the point at 21%. Our Cheese Crisp doing some good job healing our Montana team here. Looks like we have Athena on DPS. Ooh, the Genji ult takes down our DPS. Looks like Gubernator is down as well. Our Reinhardt, our Jimmy Carter is the captain of the Overwatch team. Ready to go in. We did capture point. We are starting to get percentage on that. 12% against CMU's 46%. Montana really trying to hold CMU here. Reinhardt going in, trying to create some more space for the team. Taking some damage behind, but we have some amazing healers keeping our Reinhardt up. There's a Genji in the back. Montana creates some amazing space and backs up. Looks like CMU might be trying to regroup, trying to find a different strategy, and they go the other way. Montana is fast to react. Reinhardt goes down, gets antied. Healer's trying to keep him up, but Reinhardt does go down. Our tank is down. We have a DPS down, 2 DPS down. Montana in trouble here as CMU regrouped and was ready to go in. But we did a great job getting to 58%. CMU is now getting some percentage on the map. Our teams are working on only having 1 tank now, as Overwatch 2 has dropped a tank position. Chivel trying to go in, does a crazy Reaper jump to the other side. Amazing Reaper ult from Chivel. Looks like our Reinhardt ulted and took it down the Hanzo. Our healer's doing a great job keeping Montana up. Athena trying to get some space here. Looks like Montana spread out just a little bit here. Our tank is up trying to get that, trying to create more space for Montana. And that is a Genji ult. Immediately takes out our Reaper. Our tank is down. Both our healers are down. It looks like Athena is left up to defend the point. Montana at 93%. That was so close. CMU back on point. Has it captured. Montana's gonna have to group and get to the point as fast as they can.
Might be, I don't care.
Let's try to get back into the fight here, see what's happening on point. Looks like our DPS down, our healer went down, CMU whole team is up. Jimmy Carter looked like he switched the ham here. These controls are a little hard to control. CMU gets a team kill and scores the first point.
Score 1-0.
Still anyone's game.
Ready for battle.
Let's see if Montana switches up their team comp at all.
Do not speak to the brain in this.
Planet is not going to save itself.
Trying to get, I think I got the controls figured out. Looks like the servers for Overwatch was down earlier today for custom games. Couldn't quite get the practice in. We'll try to do a better job this time for all you viewers. All right, Montana goes in. Looks like we did switch from to May. CMU still has that Genji doing some poke onto Montana. Ooh, that May damage though. Let's see what our Reaper's doing over here, trying to go around and get some damage on CMU. Our Reinhardt goes in, trying to create some space, making sure CMU doesn't get close to the point. And Montana just getting some more percentage on this objective here. Looks like CMU is trying to get some plays going. Oh, our DPS goes down. Our healer goes down. Our other DPS goes down. Oh my goodness. And our tank goes down. That's okay. We got 41%. That's pretty good for Montana. Now they'll all group up and they'll all come back together. Jimmy Carter leading the charge here. Let's see what's Montana's strategy here is. They're gonna go left. See if any of our DPS are gonna go around a bit more. Looks like Montana's all kind of grouped together. Ooh, Busy Milk takes out Athena. I don't know why these spectator controls are so weird. It keeps changing. And that was a Genji ult. Takes out Movinator. Jimmy Carter goes down. Looks like we got... Looks like we gotta regroup and head back onto point. My co-caster has finally arrived. Lucky J is on the scene. I am awkwardly casting by myself, but I am glad to have you with me.
Boy, and did I just lose mine?
Oh no. It's cause Kale cheats.
Boy, I know what's going on here. Looks like there's a red team and a blue team.
That it is. These controls are constantly changing on me.
We got
Who is where?
Cheese Crypt 29 and Goobinator. Is that the team? That's our team?
Our team, yep, our team is red.
Love them.
We also got Jimmy Carter playing for University of Montana.
Jimmy Carter's still alive?
Yeah, and he's playing Overwatch too.
Good for us. Okay.
We're doing it.
Looks like Goobinator do be jumping around. There's a chair for you. Moving it.
I gotta move it.
Okay.
If I don't move it, it goes into this weird spectator thing.
Does anybody actually listen to this?
Well, we got some viewers.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Hello, viewers.
Hello, viewers.
Welcome to the cast. We got...
It actually makes me dizzy spectating Reinhardt, though. I'm gonna switch off of that a little bit. There's something with that. I don't know, it's because he's on the pillar or something, but it's shaking the camera.
Athena, super cute character.
Yeah, May ult just went down.
Full life. Doing quite well, looks like.
Looks like CMU switched off a Roadhog to Reinhardt. Stay alive, man!
Oh, come on. That was a...
See, why does it do that? I try to switch to another character. There we go.
Okay, let's go, Goobinator.
Blizzard, please
Jump in. Okay, that's not
CMU
good.
Gold wins that. That's okay. It's a best of 5. Did you see? I tried to switch to another character and it just floats in the air. Oh, playing the game, Jimmy Reinhardt.
The 39th...
Jimmy Reinhardt.
The 39th president of the United States taking it home for us. Member of the University of Montana eSports team. We couldn't be prouder.
Amazing.
Really quite good.
He's a good Overwatch 2 player.
And you wouldn't expect it.
A good peanut farmer.
Spent a lot of time looking at peanuts. Really wouldn't think that Overwatch 2 would be a new passion.
Well, you think you'd have bad internet out on a peanut farm.
Well,
but apparently not.
Yeah, I don't know. I've never farmed peanuts.
But he finds the time to play some Overwatch. We are ready to go.
Traveling to icon. Initiating match.
All right, we are back here.
Assembling our heroes.
I can't quite see anyone yet, but we can take a look at the map here.
Getting ready for Jimmy Carter. Is that... How do you say that one? Chival?
Chival.
Chival?
Cheese Crisp.
29. Goobinator.
And Athena.
Really excited about this one.
All right, we're gonna go back into this amazing spectator mode that Overwatch 2 has.
Look at them, they're all so cute.
Can I? Oh, yeah, I can. Oh, nope, I can't. It just locked me out. Oh. Spectators having a really hard time.
Yeah.
That's
holy.
May.
Oh my god.
Look at that.
Low key my favorite, not gonna lie.
Our little penguin on the
I
back.
know, this is just big fan of penguins, big fan of animals in general. Does anybody else have an animal costume?
No, but we have. No.
Let's
I
see.
think so. Oh,
Like
goodness.
purple. It's starting. Let's go.
Let's go. All right, Montana's gotta go.
Ooh, we got a
captured.
good shield in front.
Good shield.
That Jimmy Carter.
That good healing that's going on.
All right.
We have just a crazy amount. We have the 2 Reinhardts. Goobinator takes out Larkspur. Their tank is down on CMU side. Healer's down on CMU side. Everyone's down except for the Genji. And UM captures objective A.
That was really impressive. That was really fast.
This is really fast. Now they're gonna push this payload all the way to objective B.
Easy. Easy.
Gotta deliver that DoorDash.
Especially for Montana Maroon.
Not sure where Penguin's going. Maybe going
Running
there.
around.
Running around.
Oh man. This is happening over here. We're on the wrong part of the map. Gubinator's down.
Both our healers are down.
Uh-oh.
Oh, Jimmy Carter.
Oh yeah.
Oh, he looks a little sad there.
That's okay. Gubinator's back up.
Yeah.
We're back. Doing a little dance.
Got rollerblades on.
Man, I wish I knew more about this game.
It-
We got Tease Crisp running in. They're pushing it. They're pushing it. Ooh. The speed on this team is just really impressive.
Jimmy Carter switch off of
Oh.
Reinhardt onto Diva, but Spectator, please work with me here. Oh my goodness.
Okay, what is...
I couldn't even see what
I
happened.
don't know what happened.
Spectator wouldn't let me do anything. UMT gonna have to group and push the payload. Gonna have to get a good team fight.
Yeah, it looks like we're kind of spread out a bit here.
Looks like we're just chilling.
Okay.
Okay, how is F10 Soldier 76 and F8 also 76? There we go.
Right on. Push that guy. Oh,
Jimmy Carter going up there onto the bridge.
taking
they
out
got
their flyers.
They have a fair mercy. CMU
Oh,
trying to create
retreating.
space.
Retreating.
Both healers are down. Not much they can do there. Chival goes down. Let's see if we can switch to Athena here. No, Athena does not exist on the spectator
Cheese
flank.
Crisp has taken some damage, but healing back up.
There we go.
Athena got a new outfit.
Oh, Farah ult.
Yikes. Gubinator, Athena, and Chival down.
This is a hard push right here that UMT has to get past. Montana gonna have to deal with that Farah Mercy.
And they got a break. They had a hefty shield. They
Reinhardt
breaking
shield almost
through
down.
it. Breaking through it.
That's a Lucio ult. Athena goes down. The tank from CMU also goes down. Farah taking out our other DPS. But Jimmy Carter getting a Diva Bomb onto CMU's healer.
And that payload's moving.
It is going. Jimmy Carter. Air battling.
Come on.
Get the fact.
This is
We believe Jimmy Carter.
so exciting. Oh,
This is it's pinned.
yikes. Got out of it though.
Ooh. Ooh, Chival with a double kill from the Soldier 76 ult. Athena also takes out Montana. We're cooking with gas now.
Ooh. Broke down that wall and we're in.
We are in the castle. We are in Peach's castle.
But I feel like their team's prepping.
Lucio doing some crazy movements, trying to get off. Athena does have Bob ready to throw in. Gets eliminated. Diva Bomb
Down.
goes off.
Jimmy Carter's in the back.
Busy Milk does go down. Our healer goes down from
Yikes.
Farah. Farah also takes out her tank. But Jimmy Carter was able to diva bomb him. UMT not being able to do much without their tank. But Jimmy Carter coming back.
Oh, he's on his way.
That Farah, big annoying for UM. Ooh. Lucio doing some crazy wall riding. Oh,
Right around
eliminated
the
by
side. Busy Milk.
Busy Milk. And
Busy
Farah
Milk
ult.
at it again. Jeez.
I think Farah ult. I heard her ult animation. And I am stuck.
I know
Okay,
one
we're
thing.
following Athena
Someone's
in.
gonna pay.
So someone's gonna pay. I really hope so.
UM almost there.
Just got to do that final push. What's your name?
Tomato Tato.
Tomato Tato? Oh, that's a good one. Tomato Tato.
Tomato Tato. One
Oh,
goes
right.
in and oh,
Done. Oh, Cheese Crypt down. Athena down. Jimmy Carter's almost down. Oh, back up. Jimmy Carter's down. Chivel down.
Let's get back in the saddle.
But they're back. They're ready to go back in.
Montana does have Lucio ult, almost has Soldier 76 ult. CMU might pop some ults here as Montana comes back to the payload.
We're looking at 39 seconds on the clock.
Ooh, healer went down. Go, me go.
Get him,
And
get him, get him!
amazing play by Athena
Eliminated.
there.
Busy Milk is down. Just gotta push that payload through. We're looking at 20 seconds left.
Lucio ult goes down for Montana.
Jimmy Carter's down.
Or that could have been a Lucio for CMU. Never mind. Alright, both ults down actually. Both Lucio ults.
What is that?
Is
What
there
are you
anyone?
talking about? What's a Lucille ult?
He was like, let's break it down. And then there was a bunch of beats and green healing and red healing and
Yeah,
a lot of stuff going on.
a lot of stuff going on.
Amazing push by Montana though.
Score.
If you're listening, why don't we throw a good cheer in the chat? Maybe a good go Grizz.
Go Grizz.
Go Grizz.
Initiating.
Come on, Maroon.
While you're at it, even Blizzard to fix the spectator.
Yeah, man, we want to be able to watch this.
Ooh. We can take a look.
How am I supposed to spectate for a game I've never seen or know anything about if I can't? The controls don't work.
Frames are dropping here.
I'm gonna throw up, man.
Ready for battle.
Wow, this is a little laggy. I apologize to viewers.
Oh my god.
We have the Zenyatta. Zenyatta's my favorite.
What's Zenyatta?
He's a healer. He's a monk.
Is that the dude?
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
He floats.
That reminds me of that Marvel character, Thanos's dude, and he does all the,
Oni fought Doctor Strange.
and it's Maul something.
I know who you're talking about. I can't remember his name.
I'm looking it up. Sidekick.
4, 3, 2.
No, I was wrong. Corvus Glaive. Okay, we're back in it. Going for round 3.
UMT needs to keep this payload secured.
They're taking some damage right off the bat. We got some coming down from the sky.
Yeah, we have a Farah that seems like we are not able to deal
Oh my
with.
god, it's horrible.
Can we? What? Can we? Can we not? Can we not? There we go.
Harmony is within your grasp.
Big fan of this monk.
Objective lost.
Zenyatta's the best.
Stop the pain.
He puts
Nader.
orbs on people.
Look at him, he's throwing, he's landing them.
His Harmony orbs heal and his Discord orbs he can put on enemies and they
he's
take more damage.
Look at, he's landing them non-stop.
But that Pharah though.
Yeah, it's gonna take him out unless he's careful.
Looks like it's someone from behind.
Yikes. Fizzy milk.
Okay, 5'9 and 5'10 are both Zenyatta for some reason. There we go.
Okay, now we're looking at Athena back in the penguin costume.
Shivel takes out the
Staying in
Pharah.
the back. Just trying to survive here.
That's a dead Soldier 76. Jimmy Carter coming back.
Back in the castle.
Your spirits.
Ooh, yeah, Jimmy Carter's got a whole new fit. Going with the pink hair. I got pink hair. We're matching.
Zarya.
Okay.
Zarya, yeah.
Taking it down.
Very use open. Could not. Oh, that is Zarya ult. Nice. Healer goes
Let's
down.
go, Jimmy Carter.
Both DPS are down in CMU. Other healers down in CMU. And it looks like their tank is about to go down.
Jeez. Jimmy Carter went off.
It's going crazy. It looks like we did lose a DPS and Athena is down now, but Jimmy
Oh
Carter
my
bringing it
god,
back.
the switching. Holy heck.
It's a lot.
I should be taking
Some
Dramamine next time. If I can make it through the game without passing out. Okay, we got Cowboy Athena running through the back. Cheese Chris taking him head on. Oh!
Ooh, survives the hook from Roadhog though. Hanzo up there just poking Montana.
No wound is truly mortal. That's a good line.
See where Jimmy. That's not Jimmy Carter.
How do you see how many viewers you got?
I can't check on this. Jimmy Carter doing some work, trying to save Athena. Athena goes down though. Fizzy Milk was down though. Oh, Jimmy Carter, go!
Taking all that damage from the back and still taking their players out.
Oops, that's... Okay, that is both.
Athena's coming back in. She's Crypt's in the middle of the action here.
Doing some damage, healing.
Looks like it.
Montana have an amazing hold right here. They just have to hold out for 2 minutes and 25 seconds more. See that orange dot? CMU wants to get past that orange dot.
Well, we're not gonna let them.
Hold him right here.
Defense, defense.
Hanzo's just sitting there.
Just hopping around.
He's creeping.
Okay, what is Hanzo? That's your
Hanzo's the enemy team. Hanzo is over there. He's the blue one.
He's
Trying to snipe.
lurking.
Yeah.
Lurking.
That's a Genji ult from CMU though.
Did they move the payload back?
Yep, they can push it back a little
Look
bit.
at that. Yikes.
But Genji
We got four members down.
Goobinator was not dead. What? He was dead.
Yeah, they all were except for Jimmy Carter, and then Jimmy Carter went down, and then...
I just don't know why the spectator did that.
Well, I'm not gonna say what happened in the past. Ooh, we got a first-time chatter.
Welcome, welcome. You know, chat, I also agree with you there. That Pharah doing a lot of damage, putting some pressure on UM, and UM not being able to deal with that Pharah.
Yep.
Jimmy Carter with the play of the game again.
President number 39.
Look at that amazing ult by Jimmy Carter.
That's why he's the leader of...
He had to
Our
deal with the
country.
Pharah.
And that was really impressive. Like I said, I don't know anything about that game, but that was really cool to watch.
He's going mad. All right. Looks like CMU wanted a 5-minute break, so we're going to take a short break here and we will update the score and we'll come back. All right. Stream, we are back here for more Overwatch 2. We were just sitting here chilling. They immediately went in without any hesitation, so.
But don't worry, your casters, Tomato Tato and Lucky J are prepared for anything.
Yes, we are ready. And I'm not gonna move the camera this time because I don't know why. It is really laggy when you move the camera.
Hey, Athena is ready for battle, we know that. Excited to see.
There was a lot of server issues. We didn't even know we were gonna have a game to play because the servers were down, and that might also explain why the spectator controls are.
Oh, playing the bells.
Yeah.
That's a fun little trick.
I'm not giving up
Looks
on
like
you, Reyes.
Montana is gonna try to do the Pharaoh Mercy.
Yeah. Return the favor this time around.
5, 4,
And we got the chat.
Chad,
Keeping up the-
welcome.
You know, I know you meant to say crafty. I do like the potential of the pun there when you said craft cheese.
Craft cheese, we love it. We respect it.
Okay, and we're in. We're going. Jimmy Carter.
Jimmy Carter playing Donkey Kong. Speaking of Donkey Kong, if you are free after this match, after this game Overwatch 2, come down to the gaming den and play in our Mario Party theme night here.
Oh,
You see,
it's great. The decor, phenomenal.
the core is amazing. Gonna have to take some pictures.
And I'm an event planner. I'm really impressed by this. Okay.
Montana's still at their spawn, not able to get out there.
Kind of recouping, doing some healing,
See if
doing some
our-
boosting.
Farrah can get up there and put some pressure on.
We're taking this fight to the skies this time.
Cheese Crisp's doing an amazing job. Oh! Will she revive? Oh.
And Kyle's Chivel's down, Cheese Crypt's down, Rubinator's down.
Down.
Jimmy Carter's holding on. We got Athena up in the air, holding the rear.
Ooh. CMU's DPS doing a good job putting the pressure on the Farrah. But Jimmy Carter puts down the Winston shield. Chivel trying to break the Reinhardt shield to get some damage on their tank. And CMU's tank is down. Montana can try to push here, but both of their healers are down. Jimmy Carter is almost down, but ults to keep himself alive. Where is Jimmy Carter? Spectator, please? There we go.
Okay, there we go. Jimmy Carter's getting them one by one, cornering them.
Jimmy Carter, they're up there creating some space for Montana.
Coming down for, I don't know what just happened.
Genji ult came down, he takes his blade out and goes, cha,
We got a 5-player kill streak. Is that the other team?
Well, our Farrah ulted and got a double kill, it looks like. Montana all alive, taking out CMU.
Pushing it through. Opening that door.
Slowly but surely.
Giving that other team a minute to prep, reorganize themselves, but...
You know what, Cryptic? We love your name too.
Loving the caster names. Aw. Jeez. I'm blushing. You can't see. Athena's down,
Spectator control's having a really hard time getting stuck in the ground.
but the rest, it looks like the rest of the team's back up full health. Non-stop.
Montana has the best healers.
You know what they say about Montana? You fall off the horse, you get right back on.
Yeah. Now, Rubinator is back in the fight. Powers up to Winston. Let's see if we can see what Jimmy Carter's doing.
Dive strat.
Dive strats.
Man, I don't
The
know.
black strats. Jimmy Carter doing some amazing job as a tank, creating space for his team to be able to push the payload, push CMU off. see what our fair is doing here.
You know,
Fair.
I didn't know much about Jimmy Carter before this game, but now I know he's one of the best Overwatch 2 players. Pretty impressive.
Why? As soon as I remember who is what keybind, because each character is tied to a keybind, it keeps switching.
It's testing you. This is the caster game. They're playing the game. We're playing the game of trying to keep up and watching them.
It's like spectator switches who is keybound when they die and just like move people up. So sometimes Jimmy Carter should be F7 and it puts him to F8 and sometimes it puts him on F12. It's really weird.
Well, I'm crying for you. I'm shedding a tear, Tomato Tato.
So
Got me full on sobbing.
sorry to the viewers if you're going on a wild ride here as we switch between all the characters.
Oh, they see what we
heroes.
see?
Yes.
Oh,
so every
geez.
time I switch,
Oh, jeez.
the viewer, that's why I feel so bad because
Are you guys throwing up too? Okay, well, they're pushing it through. Seems like the other team's not putting up much of a fight right now. They must be preparing. Okay, well, what's going on back there?
So it looks like our Reaper going up there, getting some. Never mind.
Chivel.
I'm not gonna see where Reaper is.
Chivel was in there doing some damage. Jimmy Carter.
Jimmy Carter cleaning that.
Yeah, going one-on-one with the what do you call it? The big boys at the front. Big boys at the front. The tanks. I knew that one. I knew that one.
You're learning.
Good counter alt from the Farah.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Val Plus. Okay, we're running through.
Montana regrouping, going in.
We got 2 minutes. Easy.
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 Just push the payload, forehead.
Okay, and we're moving. We're cooking.
Jimmy Carter goes in.
Oh, please jump down. Please jump down. And I was hoping like a landing on him anyway.
Looks like CMU has a Lucio ult. We have
Oh man,
on ult ready to go.
look at him go. Dealing damage to almost all their characters, I think. I don't really know.
Bob takes down Lucio on CMU side.
And we're so close.
We're doing it. Come on, Montana, the final.
What is happening?
A lot of stuff is happening. People are getting res. Ults are happening.
And I'm just so grateful to be able to see this.
That watching
We did it.
watching some of the characters really shakes the screen.
Wait, I tell ya.
Amazing push by Montana. Can they hold CMU?
Initiating match.
We're gonna be stuck here for a little bit.
I don't know what's happening.
So you see this little truck here?
I do. I see it.
We want to push it. So Montana
Okay,
pushed it.
I get
all the
that
way
part. I get that part. I get that part. How far? How far are we pushing this guy?
here. Right here.
To right here? That was it?
Yep.
We did it?
So we got whole 3 points. If we didn't make it here, we would have only got 2 points.
3's a lucky number.
3's a lucky number.
Easy. Okay, right on.
Why did it put us in first person mode?
I don't know, but boy, am I upset by that.
Oh, did the servers fix it? Because I could only watch in third person mode. This makes it way easier.
Okay, well, I'm glad.
This will be much easier for
This
you.
is good. This is good.
Well, I was wondering because usually when we spectate,
I was running out of those bags they give you on airplanes.
1. Attackers incoming.
oh, and you can see Mercy right here is boosting.
Ooh, I know a song. I know a song. Do Overwatch people hate that? the... Maybe I'll be Tracer. Is that Overwatch?
That is Overwatch. It's a very good song. I'm
they
sure
like
they'll
it?
know. Yeah, they'll know what song.
Did they like it?
It's an
Or,
old song. Yeah.
because like I know the
Should have been Mercy. Should
Yeah.
have been any kind of support.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the Portlandia people hate the Portlandia. Portland people hate the Portlandia songs. So
Oh.
I didn't know if Overwatch people hate it.
Generally it's really well liked.
Bomb. Pretty great.
Come
We
on,
gotta take
Reaper.
down this Larkspur. Getting them.
Big boy.
People don't care though. Jimmy Carter's up top.
Jimmy Carter comes down. Takes out the healer. Hootinator takes out the other healer on the CMU side. Nope, that was Farah.
Ugh. Oh my gosh. Surprise. This is thrilling. Oh. I don't know how long I can do this.
It's a lot.
Okay.
Good sleep from the Ana.
Put him to sleep.
When
Oh,
she shoots
man.
allies, it heals them, but when she shoots enemies, it does damage.
Love it. That seems to
Magical
be
bullet.
a theme. Seems to be a theme in this Overwatch 2. Overwatch 2 is like new, right? It just came out.
Yeah. We're having a lot of server issues, so that might be why there is a little bit of a lag. Our spectator controls seem to be doing a lot better now. Chivo going in, trying to get some damage onto this Roadhog that just won't go down. Very nice.
But they're staying in.
And looks like Bob took out CMU's Ana.
Oh, the other team's pushing it now, huh? Who is pushing the truck?
CMU. Blue team is trying to push the truck.
What school is CMU? Oh, I got you. I asked a question you don't know the answer to. Uh-oh. Just kidding. Redacted. Redacted. That didn't happen.
no.
Cut that, cut that, cut that.
CMU is
We know who the opponent is. We're bluffing.
something something university.
And we have a lot of respect for them. Enough that we know exactly what university they are.
I know what I'm doing. Not even the Twitter says what it is. CMU. I haven't seen you before.
Michigan.
Central Michigan. Chippewas.
Gotcha.
Reaper just chilling here. We're gonna look at someone else.
I don't know much about Michigan, but my friends were gonna move there and it made me very angry, so.
Oh no.
I think we really need to win.
Oh, the punk is really putting down. Hopefully our DPS can take care of this Farah. No.
Gotta figure out how to deal with those attacks from the sky.
That is the job of the DPS to help take that Farah down.
Ugh.
And Mueller goes down. Triple is up. Switch to him.
Jimmy Carter's been down for a minute. Popping back in now.
Ooh, Reaper was trying to do something there to get behind him, maybe. Didn't work. Where's Jimmy Carter at? There he is. Montana really staying all the way back here to let CMU push.
Yeah, they got 1 point so far and they're moving pretty quickly.
Jimmy Carter goes down immediately.
Hope we can put a stop to this.
Ooh, very nice play there. Looks like Chief Chris did an amazing res onto the Winston to bring him back into the fight.
We're finally holding them for a second. Doing a good job.
Montana losing the team advantage here. The numbers advantage. 2 people down. It is now 5v3.
Michigan's on the move again.
Diva ult from CMU.
They're,
That Farah just putting the pressure on Montana.
Michigan's going 50 and a 35 right now. We gotta slow them down. Let's do a traffic stop here.
Looks like our support goes down. Our other support goes down. Our DPS. Oh, oh.
Sorry, I shouldn't be laughing at that. I mean,
It's funny when you go into ult and your character. Yeah,
there's no chance, but that's okay.
that's okay. Montana just needed to take a deep breath here, regroup.
I mean, Michigan's only got a minute to get the 3 points, so
Yeah.
we just gotta hold them. Jimmy Carter's up at the front.
Cheese Chris coming in with those amazing heals.
Yeah, really great, really good.
Cheese Chris staying under the shield.
Feel like
Healing the teammates.
the Flyer doesn't have as much of an advantage inside this domed building. Hold them
Jimmy
back.
Carter.
Why is the clock stop? Oh, I'm looking at the wrong clock. Oh man. Gee, dang it. I thought we were doing a lot. It doesn't matter. We're doing really good. We're doing really good.
60 seconds remaining.
Hold it. Hold it. No.
Clutch. Oh, the mercy.
Okay, come on.
Ooh.
Okay.
Montana really needing to look up in the sky and deal with that Farah. That Farah is a problem.
Well, we're learning lessons, I think.
Score
Um,
2-3.
So what does this mean?
So this means they are gonna have to try to push the payload as far as they can.
Initiating match.
CMU will have a minute to push as far as they can. Montana will have a minute 13 to push as far as they can.
Oh, good for us.
So hopefully we can get some
I'm
good
confident.
distance.
I'm confident. Let's send them some luck.
Our Montana team, throughout the years, our weakness has always been Farah players.
Does everyone know the plan?
I'm just here for the outfit changes.
True. Loader 76 has its pirate outfit on.
You need a caster focused on fashion. Call me in.
Well, we'll bring you into a league game then. A lot easier to watch a league game. Harder to understand, but you're not jumping around between. It's not a first person. It's a bird's eye view on everyone.
I have seen a bit of that. I've literally never seen any Overwatch. I have seen a bit of League.
3, 2, 1. Attackers in
Okay, let's go. Oh wait,
Montana
other team.
taking the high ground, but CMU has the Pharaoh.
Athena's staying in the back, dealing damage from afar.
Ooh, very good kill.
Jimmy Carter running in. Yeah.
Athena doing a good job trying to get the pressure onto the Pharaoh. That's exactly what Montana needs right now.
Really big fan of Athena. Come on, let's go.
Let's go!
Making her namesake proud, I'm sure. Work smarter, not harder.
Oh, that Pharaoh has had
man.
enough of Athena.
But not before getting a good amount of damage in. Let's see, what's Cheese Crip up to? This is one of our healers.
Yep.
I'm figuring it out.
MVP though. Whoa, Pharaoh ult onto Montana.
Yeah, this Dodger really knows. And it's moving. They better stop this thing.
I better be more careful.
Okay, Chivel's running in. Wow.
Just teleporting in. Reaper not doing much damage sitting far behind. Needs to get in
Larkspur.
close.
Coming up.
Trying to shoot down Pharaoh.
Get almost. Not quite though. But they're not moving. Oh, we're in overtime. How do you go into overtime?
Because they both push the payloads at the end, so they went into.
Oh, this is what overtime is.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. I'm sorry, listeners. I hope you laughed at least one time.
It's a lot. It's a lot if you're not used to games like this. Very fast paced.
My whole job here, Tomato Tato, is to make you giggle. That's what I'm looking for.
Reaper into Pharaoh. Noted.
Pretty evenly matched here. Seems like it.
Yeah.
But we got a minute and 13 seconds. So,
I believe in Montana. I do agree that
we're both M states.
yeah.
That is the great equalizer. Ooh, maybe that's not a.
Yeah, 13 more seconds.
Maybe not.
It is a slight advantage, but Montana really needs to focus down and push this payload as far as they can.
Look up. You gotta
We look up. Yes, that's something.
look at the sky.
We really gotta have.
What is reverse sweep?
5, 4, 3,
Means they just came back and just swept us.
These people in the
Took
chat
a push
room
and just sweeping us up.
wishing they were in my seat right now. All right, let's go. Let's get some movement here.
Jeez, Crips doing an amazing job keeping the team up. So is Goobinator. Athena takes down the Pharaoh. That is exactly what we needed.
And yet we're not. Oh yeah, we're moving. We're moving.
Looks like the Pharaoh got res.
Stalled for a second.
Montana has the team advantage. Better take out the rest of CMU and push this payload.
We're at 40 meters so far.
seconds.
Go, go, go.
More than halfway there. 50. Okay, I'm feeling good. But these
Gonna be a
folks are
close
ready
match.
to come.
Amazing shot there from
They're
Athena.
getting in here. They're gonna try and stop us, but we only gotta go 6 meters. We got 12 seconds on the clock. Just gotta get a little bit more movement. 6, 5. Oh boy.
Come on, Montana.
And
Montana's starting to lose players
Yikes.
here. Triple about to go down. Triple goes down.
That
Jimmy
was-
Carter.
isn't that